Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Connect to Florida. All right, today we're going to talk about it. We're getting into it. I know some of you have seen the news articles that the entirety of Florida is crashing. The basement is falling in. It is the worst market that we've seen in over a decade. I am sure that many of you have read that. But, is this all lies? We're gonna talk about it. Grab your coffee, let's chat. All right, before I jump into this, let me introduce myself. My name is Barrett Pastor, and I've been a real estate broker for 27 years. So hopefully I'm coming to you from a place of knowledge and experience, and I can help you navigate all things Florida real estate. Also happy to be a resource for you where I can. I had 2 people last week that I did consultations with way down the road a year or so ago, and they did end up buying. And they both reached out here recently and said, help me with some things to do in the area. Help me with this kind of restaurant. So I always appreciate that, and I'm always willing to be a resource anywhere I can if it's helpful for you. All right, so let's just jump into this. So there were several news articles out last week, and I guess maybe it's because where the kids started school actually this week. So this week, those of you with school-age kids, you know that the kids started school this week in Florida. I'm seeing it all over my Facebook, everybody with their school pictures. So being that happened, what tends to happen is people shift modes. So especially somewhere where it is more of a primary home market as opposed to a snowbird market, you see that people just jump out of the market at that point. You want to have your kids in school, registered in the school that you want them to go to for the most part, and then the market kind of dips off a bit. And we in Southwest Florida start to move towards our season. So because Naples, Bonita, Estero, some of Fort Myers, Sarasota, because that is much more of a second home market, not everywhere, but a lot of it. And by the way, Naples, out of everything I just listed, Naples is going to be your primary second home market, because Sarasota tends to lean a little bit more primary home. So does Estero. But nonetheless, nobody can deny that most of Southwest Florida leans towards a second home market. So you have a lot of snowbirds in the marketplace. So once kids are in school and life starts to move on, those retirees start to get ready to come back to Florida. So I mention this a lot, but people ask, so I'm going to go ahead and address it here. A lot of times people will say, when is the official season? So once we're in October, I would call that a shoulder season. So we're rolling into season. So the shoulder seasons, meaning we're starting to just kind of round the corner into season, that's going to be October, November, December. And the big reason is that a lot of people want to be in their home state for Thanksgiving and Christmas, but come January, we are in full swing season. So people, holidays are over, it's cold, it's gray, it's gloomy, there's nothing to do, and people want to get out of their home states. So January, February, March, that is full-blown season. And then April, we start to round the corner of the other shoulder and into the off-season. Right now, we're in mid-August as of the filming of this video. So we are in the off-season, and we will sit in the off-season until about the end of September. September is generally the worst market in Southwest Florida because there's not a lot of buyers in the marketplace. But if you are somebody that hasn't found what you're looking for yet, it's a really good time for you to buy, because if the seller is on the market in September, they are pretty darn motivated to get rid of that property. So let's chat about that for a minute. I want to talk about Naples because many of us study that Naples market. I work the Naples market day in, day out. And when I ran the stats last week, so I just did this last weekend out of curiosity. Some of you are going to be shocked at this. Sorry, my phone is just binging away here. Let me turn that down. Some of you are going to be shocked at this. Some of you will not, because we have some very wise viewers here at Connect to Florida. As a whole, so think of all of Collier County. We're in North Naples, we're in East Naples. Don't just think downtown Naples. All of Naples as a whole has seen a drop in price of 1%. 1%. Can you believe that? I know some of you believe that. Pause the video and tell me what you think of that. Because I know many of you are like, when are the prices going to come down? Now, this is what I want to say to you. And I say this pretty often. We have to look at our market in Southwest Florida on a micro level, not a macro level. So when I'm saying a 1% drop in prices, that is on a macro level. That is the area as a whole. Think of it as a big umbrella. That big umbrella saw about a 1% drop. That's it. That's all. That's it. So those of you that have been frustrated and saying,
when are these sellers going to come to reality and realize that no one is going to pay that amount for their house?
They never did. They have not yet. Maybe they never will. Maybe they won't sell at all. So that's what's been going on. For those of you who are seeing that, this is what I would say to you. You are probably looking for something that is one of two things or both. Number one, you're looking in an area that's extremely popular. So an area that's maybe beach walkable, an area that maybe has a lot of amenities for lower fees. An area that a lot of people lean towards. North Naples is an area that's very popular. So if you're looking in an area that everybody wants, that'll help stabilize that market to where you don't see those drops that, like, say somewhere like Cape Coral, where you're seeing drops at 40 and 50%. You're not going to see that in the Naples area. Or you are looking for something that is very shaken down, filtered out, and it's what everybody wants. So something like a single family home, 3 bedrooms, 2 bath minimum, pool home, big lanai, facing south. You want 3-car garage, 2-car garage, less than 10 years old, and it's in a budget that's a bread and butter budget, let's say somewhere in the 600 to 700,000 range. If you're looking for that, when it comes up, it's going to sell because everybody else is looking for that. So those are the kind of components, and there's a lot of that in Naples that's out there, and that will hold numbers. So what's happening in Naples on a micro level is that there's enough of that hold, there's enough of that stability, that the areas that are seeing big price drops, those areas are not, it's kind of a balance. There are some that are really bad, and there are some that are just holding strong. Generally speaking, in a second home market, you can make the assumption that it's pretty well funded. So people can hold to their prices, or they just take their homes off the market. The thing is, there are still a lot of homes on the market. It's record breaking. The number of homes on the market is record breaking, but there's a lot of wealth in the area to the degree that people sometimes will say, well, you know what, I'll try it again next year, and they pull their home off the market. But as I said in the beginning of this video, if you're seeing homes on the market in August and September, those are motivated sellers. The other area we're seeing really good deals right now is Marco Island. So Marco Island has been a little bit of a mixed bag, and that's Collier County. For those of you who are unfamiliar, you're just from downtown Naples, you're going to go over the bridge and you're right there on beautiful Marco Island. So if you want something that feels kind of small town, beachy, fisherman village-ish, Marco Island is really nice. It's a quiet little area. Yes, the traffic is insane. I agree, the traffic is crazy during season, but in the off season, it isn't like that whatsoever. In the off season, you actually have the opposite effect, where the restaurants are completely empty. Some of them even close earlier than they otherwise would have. So there's some things like that, but for some people, they love that. They don't mind when the island gets quiet and they have the island to themselves. I always say to people, if you're buying on water on a canal that leads out to the Gulf, just know that your insurance is going to be high. And I always say, figure, this is not a formula, so don't take this to the bank, but figure that your insurance, between your flood insurance and your homeowner's insurance, is probably going to be in the ballpark, if you're on water, of 1 to 2% of what the purchase price of the home is. So in other words, if you pay $900,000 for the home, then your insurance is probably going to be somewhere between $9,000 and $18,000. Now you might say, really, Barrett, that's a really big swing. The reason that I can't give you an absolute dead on is because you might choose to do something globally with your insurance that I'm unaware of. So let me tell you something really interesting about Marco Island that is absolutely going to blow your mind and help you understand that you have to work with a good agent and you have to look at things on a micro level. Now, I just got through telling you that we are seeing great deals on Marco Island. Let me tell you what the stats look like. You're not even going to believe this. The one that rhymes with pillow, Realtor.com, Redfin, all of these websites are pulling from NAR. They're pulling from our MLS data. So, according to Redfin, the median sale price on Marco Island rose by 12.3%. It rose by 12.3%. July 2025 year over year. So 2024 to 2025, July, that 1 year, it rose by 12.3%. That can be shocking if you're not aware of how truly micro drilled down these markets are. So let me go further with this. However, Redfin also notes that 24.1% of homes experienced price drops, a 2.5% point increase compared to last year. So what does that mean? More people are dropping their prices than last year, but the prices rose 12.3%. What does that mean? That means exactly what I'm saying to you. You have to look at it on a micro level. The houses that are desirable in a desirable area, on water, on big open water, close proximity to get out to big open water, they are going to sell first and strongest, and everything else pulls the data down. So if you're in Michigan, if you're in Boston, if you're in Minnesota, and you're looking at our market, you have to look at it on a micro level to be accurate. So what does all this mean, Barrett? What do I do? What do I do with this? What I would say to you is you do still have time for the summer of 2025 to look for that deal, but let's do a consultation and let's talk through what you're looking for, and let's figure out where the pockets are that you can still get a really good buy.